Mushing isn't about preventing problems. It's about solving them. And the things that used to feel like such big problems, wild animals and weather and team dynamics, didn't feel like problems anymore. They felt like mushing. They felt like life. It wasn't that I had magically become a fearless person, but the dogs had helped me to understand courage differently. Courage in the face of the unknown isn't about obsessively planning for everything, and it's also not about denying that things are going to go wrong. It's about making the decision to trust your future self.
So the idea is, can we use our familiarity with technological evolution, like cars, to help us understand and identify patterns in biological evolution through deep time in our planet's history?
We evolved to be social creatures, so much so that social rejection activates the same areas of the brain as physical injury.
They are an idea I think is worth talking about called a community refrigerator, or as we call in the Midwest, a community fridge. They're there for folks who are often overlooked by traditional food pantries. They ask no questions whatsoever. They know, this is a big thing, people in need, they know best what they need. And community fridges understand that. They trust that the folks visiting know to take what they need and leave what they can. And the beautiful thing is, that happens every day.
Oftentimes, people ask me, why do you farm? Why put yourself through the daily stresses? Why have minimal time off, long hours? Why put yourself through it? The answer is because being a farmer is something that you are, not something that you do.
I decided I was going to quit the teaching profession, and at the last moment, I took a workshop. And at the workshop, I met these amazing music educators. One pulled me aside, and I remember what she said. She goes, "Chris, it's not the feeling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." It's a quote by Yeats. And as I thought about that, there were no fires being lit in my classroom. In fact, I felt like this, like I had a hose and I was dousing children. You like learning? I can put that out for you.
The pervasive guilt the war analogies create about not giving up leads patients down roads of treatment that are less and less effective and more riddled with side effects. And this affects not just their quantity of life, but their quality of life as well.
The concept of participation trophies has been misconstrued. We see them as medals of mediocrity or badges of entitlement. I urge you to reconsider them as markers of effort, reminders of courage, and a record of the willingness to try.
Also, because it's a small town, I knew the first responders that showed up on the scene. And so when the officer walked up to my shattered window, he shined his light in the car and then down on my right knee. I looked up at him, said, "How's your night going, Pat?" He looked back at me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Better than yours."
Because climate change absolutely is a public health crisis.
Ours is an opposite-sex marriage. It is not a straight marriage. I use the word spouse because it means chosen life partner. And it would be equally true for me whether I married a Stephen or a Stephanie. I picked a partner, not a side.
Our problems are far too complex. And the solutions that we need to be more diverse than one person simply standing on the top of a ladder. If we want the best for our kids, if we want the best for our communities, we need to find ways that we can bring in as many different ideas as possible and work with as many different leaders as possible. We need to lead like the students here on stage. We need to lead, simply put, like jazz musicians.
The greatest gift that you can give yourself and others in this cluttered world is their time back, and is your time back. Use as few words, as few sentences as humanly possible so that that person gets the message you want and you both get the time back that you deserve.
One person's weird is another person's normal. Yeah. I see that we have become so reliant on labels. Labels are for the lazy, yeah? Labels, they're convenient. You know, you either fit my norm or I can just dismiss you as weird. Ooh, why do they talk like that? That's weird. Why do they dance like that? That's weird. Who puts raisins in coleslaw? That's just too weird. Breaking news. We're all a little weird.
So why are we doing this? We do it to help complete strangers transform their lives and gain a sense of freedom from their psychological prisons. We do it to create lasting change, not only in ourselves, but in everybody involved with this program. We do it in the spirit of restorative justice. I am an inmate, and I am just one of about 40 men volunteering with this program while I serve time in prison.
When I'm faced with something that I can't bring myself to believe, my daughter is 13 and she wants to kill herself? Come on. Wait a minute. Now she's tried and I can't keep her safe at home? That can't be true. The easy choice in that moment is to not look at it.
After I observed dancers, my body seemed more connected and my bow more fluid when I played. After I observed visual artists, instead of seeing musical notes in my head, I saw oranges and melting yellows. I played sunrises instead of just notes.
So if testosterone was so decisive to athletic ability and to sex difference, how could it be that there are elite male athletes with testosterone in the so-called female range? Clearly, the picture is more complex than some of us might have thought.
O matno me ne hoke ne wapiom o wasa ne totam nokoma kisitna and its wapiot and I'm kiuki ne kia hawe ne poe o wasa no na awe.
And at that moment, my heart quaked with this painful revelation. Racism is not just antagonism against another because of their racial or ethnic group. It is a disease like tooth decay. Racism is contagious like tooth decay. Racism is contagious social cancer.
Imagine a roll of toilet paper that could sense biomarkers such that every time you used it, it could tell you if you had the onset of colon cancer.
Politicians who lie and who rely on propaganda are not new. What might be new for America is a citizenry that hears lies, knows they might not be true, and doesn't care.
Aren't hearing aids supposed to solve these problems? When I began helping people with hearing loss over 44 years ago, I expected that hearing aids would be like eyeglasses and that wearing them would make everything sound crystal clear. If that were only true.
All these people serve as prime examples that disability does not have to limit someone. My disability, my cerebral palsy, doesn't define who I am, but it is a part of me. And it got me on this stage where I'm the rock star.